Hi, good morning and welcome back to Apple Cottage. This is Sandy. So today I'm going to talk about how I make my elderberry syrup that's for coughs and colds. This weekend I woke up and I had a little bit of a sore throat, a little unusual for me, and in my refrigerator I was completely out of my elderberry syrup. So I thought, I have to make it anyway, I might as well bring you along. Now, elderberries are known for their medical properties. You can just read a ton of articles on the internet, and there's books about elderberries and their properties, antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, just so many things that elderberries are good for. Now, I do have an elderberry bush in my yard. It's not very large, and a neighbor of mine has a huge elderberry bush. And so this summer she let me pick them. And so I used my steam juicer and I extracted all the juice out of them and just canned it, knowing that this winter I might need to make some elderberry syrup. Now, completely different than my elderberry syrup that I use on pancakes. This has an infusion of all kinds of herbs and spices that will help with sore throats, colds, even to the extent of influenza, anything that is upper respiratory. Now, a thing to remember, always, if you're going to make a syrup, the elderberries need to be organic. And if you don't know if they are or not, don't purchase those. There's a lot of people that grow elderberries, so there might be somebody that's in your neighborhood or your neck of the woods that has some elderberries that you could pick or maybe trade. I love bartering. And so maybe something that you do, you can barter and get their elderberries. Now, in my syrup, it's kind of a long process, not a hard process, but it takes several hours. Really, basically, it takes a day to do it because you're going to strain it overnight. To my elderberries, I'll take 1 quart of my elderberry juice that I've done this summer. I'm going to put that in a pan. Then I'm going to add rose hips and rose petals, echinacea root, licorice root, ginger root, and I'm going to break up some cinnamon sticks and put in there. Now, the other herbs, I've done different things. If I don't have any wild cherry bark, I'm going to use cat claws bark. If I don't have any mullein leaves left when it's time to do my elderberry syrup, I'm going to put hibiscus flowers in there. To sweeten it, I'm going to use pure raw honey. And as you know, I have my own beehive, so I have my own honey. If you can buy your honey locally, so much better. Just be careful when you buy it in the store because a lot of times that's got rice syrup and different things added. Easy way to tell if the honey isn't really raw, it doesn't want to crystallize. And when you go to mix a tablespoon in some hot water, it just dissolves really quickly. That's a sign that it has something added to it. And so having organic elderberries, organic spices, organic herbs is just really important in the syrup because you don't want any chemicals reacting when you're trying to heal a sore throat or a cough or cold. So I add all of my spices and herbs, and I'm going to link the entire recipe below so that you have that. And I have some clips and some photos of while I was doing the process yesterday, so that I'm going to add to the video. Here's my elderberry syrup cooking down. I want to get it to be about half the volume as what I started with. It's a mixture of elderberry juice from some elderberries that are at a friend's house up the street, and all a mixture of spices and herbs, which I'll put down in the discussion box so that I'll put my whole recipe, so in case you'd like to do it. So it has to reduce in volume just a little bit more. Then I'm going to send it through my strainer so I can collect all the herbs and spices, and I just will have the liquid and I'll let that drain for a little while. And then I'm going to add honey into my mixture, and I'll just cook it warm enough so that it just blends the honey all into my syrup. Then I'll be pouring it into some glass jars, sterilized glass jars, so that with sore throats, colds, inflammation, influenza, anything to do with your lungs and your throat, this is just a fabulous syrup. All natural, of course. All the ingredients are organic. And I will be back. So I'm adding all my spices and my herbs. I'm just going to put it in the pan with the elderberry juice, put a lid on it, and it's going to soak for 3 hours. Because I want that elderberry juice to just really be infused with the herbs and spices. It's important. After the 3 hours, I'm going to slowly rise the temperature so it becomes a simmer. And I'm going to simmer it until the liquid becomes half the volume. So I started out with a quart, so I really want that volume to go down to a pint. When it does that, then I'm going to strain it. And I like to strain mine overnight. I really want all those juices out. I've just been more successful if I'm not in a hurry. So I just put a towel over it, and I just let it sit overnight. So this morning, I took the juice that was there in the bowl below the strainer, and I added 1 pint of my raw honey. And I only want to heat this up enough just so it incorporates it. Part of my honey was a little crystallized, and so I just kept stirring it until it was completely done. Well, the elderberry syrup has been strained all night long so that I could get all of the good extract out of there with all the different herbs and spices. Now it's back into the pot, and I'm just very slowly heating it up so that the honey becomes incorporated. Now some of the honey I had was a little crystallized, so that's why you can see like that little lump there. But it's gonna just warm ever so slightly and mix, and I'm just going to keep stirring this constantly until I have it all incorporated, and so then it'll just be perfect. Then I'm going to let it cool a little teeny bit, and I'm actually going to add vodka. You can add brandy or vodka, and it just helps it to last longer. Now, I will keep it always in my fridge, though I suppose I could can it, but that extreme heat I'm not really sure I want. So I'm just going to continue to stir it, and when the video comes back, I'm going to be ready to pour it into the jars that I'm going to keep it in the refrigerator. Then you have an option after that's done. You let it cool before you're pouring it in the jars. And you can add brandy or you can add vodka to it. And the way you decide how much to add is you want 15 to 20% of the volume of the liquid. So when I was all done with my honey added into it, I poured into a measuring cup, and there was about 600 milliliters. And so 15% of that would be 90 milliliters. If I go to 20, it's a little over 100. So about 120. So I added that volume of vodka into it. Then I stirred it again. And then I'm ready to pour it into my jars. I am going to keep it in the refrigerator. It will last for months. When I have a cold or the beginnings of a cold or sore throat, I will take about 4 tablespoons a day. I'll just divide it out, making sure that I take it in the morning and at night, and then 2 times during the day. What you want to do though, you don't want to just swallow it. You want to put it in as far back in your throat and hold it as long as you can, because it will just start its medical properties to help your cold or your sore throat. It will filter underneath your tongue, and that's a great way to absorb the herbs and spices into your system right away. So I have one of the jars poured. I'm going to pour the other jar. I always like to use a funnel. I don't want to lose, you know, sometimes you spill anyway, but you know, you want to save as much as possible. So I'm going to pour that into the jar, and I'm going to move the camera down a little bit so you can see. See, one of my jars is already done. I found these fun jars years ago. So I'm just going to pour that in there. It won't make quite a full jar of this one. I'm going to throw that spoon in the sink, grab my spatula so I can get all of it. And it's a thick syrup. And actually, once it gets in the refrigerator, it's even thicker because you know, it's completely cooled down. And I'll just let that drain from the strainer for just a little bit. And then I just have these corks that I'll just put on top. Now this is just a fabulous syrup. Coughs, colds, sore throats. I mean, if you look on the internet, it'll tell you it's good for all kinds of other things. But this is what I know for sure it is good for. There's claims that it's good for cancer and stuff too. That I can't tell you if that's true or not true. I just know that elderberries have so many wonderful medical properties that it's just a fabulous berry to have, to grow. So I'm going to add some little clips and some photos to this video. I'm going to put the recipe below, so I hope you try it, and I think you will just be so happy with the outcome. So this is Sandy. I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. Remember, Tuesdays and Thursday mornings I have Gardening Together. This week, Tuesday, we're going to talk about pumpkins, one of my favorite subjects also. And on Thursday, I'm actually going to talk about how to really take a soil sample, because with my work with the Master Gardeners, I've seen some crazy things when people try to do soil tests. And so I just want to do the step-by-step of what you do before you send it in to get it analyzed. So it won't be a long video on Thursday, but I think it'll be an informative video. So this is Sandy at Apple Cottage. Remember to like my videos, subscribe, share them with the world, and I hope you have just a fabulous Christmas.